Welcome back to another episode of Relive Sports Center. As you can see by the title and by the thumbnail, today we're going to be breaking down some film on Malik Nabers' game against the Washington Commanders. So, man, we're going to dive straight into this. So, the very first play right here, man, you see that they got a one-on-one matchup with Malik Nabers. The corner is playing off, like he's almost playing as if it was a cover three, as if at the snap of the ball, he was going to kind of spot drop to get to his deep third, but it was a man-to-man coverage. And a lot of times offenses utilize man coverage, especially if you got corners that, if you're going up against a team that has corners that's physical and they want to get up to the line of scrimmage to try to get their hands on receivers to throw off the timing of the route. One of the things that you can do to try to minimize that or to take that option away is utilizing motion and also lining him up off the line of scrimmage. So once they send him in motion, for one, he already has a running start. That's another benefit of it. And in my opinion, I think that it's very hard, especially in NFL, with these receivers to kind of have success with just playing off man-to-man coverage. I think that with guys like Malik Nabers, you most definitely want to try to get up there and try to slow down the timing of the route, because everything is based off of timing. If you can get up there and somewhat slow him down, more times than not, the quarterback is probably going to go elsewhere, especially if you have a pretty good pass rush. But right here, they're playing off man-to-man coverage, and he just does a good job at selling this route. Now, to my young receivers, if you watch my videos, you always hear me talk about the art of deception, in a sense, So you want to, like, if you ever hear boxers talk, if you ever hear a boxing trainer talk, they'll tell you that the punch that knocks out boxers are the ones that they do not see coming. So the goal to get knockout punches is to make your opponent think you're doing one thing and then come with the complete opposite. So that same thing applies to being a receiver. When you want to win those one-on-one matchups, it's all about making that defender think that you're doing one thing and doing the complete opposite. So right here, when he runs this out route, just look at how he sells it. So he's going to stem upfield and look at the top of the route where he makes it seem as if he's going to run an in route, right? So you look at the top of the route, he's kind of curving in, weaving in as if he's going to run an in route. And then just look at the sell from his shoulders and his head. Let's take another look at that again. Just look at how he sells it from his shoulder and his head. Boom. Right? He gets his shoulder around and he gets his head around. So obviously the corner, especially when he's playing man-to-man coverage, he's going to be kind of watching him, his waistline and kind of just trying to dictate. And sometimes if they get a little sloppy with their eye discipline and if they're looking at the shoulders, a lot of times it can lead to you being able to easily kind of deceive them. So right here, he just does a good job at selling that route at the top, making him think that it was going to be an in route. He just bounced that thing back to the outside and the corner was just out of position. And Russell Wilson did a good job at being able to get the ball to him. And obviously, one of the things I like about Malik Nabers, too, is his ability to be able to make things happen on his own. And what I mean by that is the opportunities. When you get the opportunities to get those catch and runs, are you capitalizing on them? And that's one of the things that he brings to the table. So right here, when you're looking at a receiver and you're asking yourself, is this elite? Is this an elite receiver? Is this the top guy? Is this a number one receiver? And for me to be considered as a number one receiver, you have to be able to win your one-on-one matchups, and we get them, and not just against the second corner or maybe the third corner if you're lined up in a slot, the nickel, but against the top guys. If you're going up against a team that has a cornerback who's like that, and they say, you know what, you're following him all game long, I don't care. You have to be able to win those matchups. And right here, you have a matchup with Malik Nabers being matched up on the outside with Marshawn Lattimore, who is one of the better cover corners in the NFL, obviously. And right here, he just kind of makes Marshawn Lattimore look silly on this play. So they pretty much just run a simple slant. But it goes back to what I was saying, man. It goes back to the art of selling. Like, you want to be able to make the defender think that you're doing one thing and do the complete opposite. So sometimes you don't necessarily have to be moving lightning fast. You just have to be very, very deceptive in your route running. So right here, he runs a slant. Once again, he does a good job at being able to attack the outside shoulder. Now, Marshawn kind of gave him somewhat of a free release. He tried to get his hands up at the end, but at that point, he kind of was already out leveraged based off of the route Malik Nabers was doing. So he pretty much was just setting him up. He started attacking the outside shoulder, and then as soon as Lattimore put his hand on him, he did a good job at utilizing his hands to swipe him down. And once he attacked that outside shoulder, got him to kind of open up his hips and commit, he just bounced that thing back inside and kind of put Marshawn Lynch in a blend cycle and was able to catch the ball. Russell did a good job at delivering a strike right there. He was able to catch the ball and be able to fall forward for some additional yards to be able to get the first down. But like I said, man, to be considered an elite receiver, you have to be able to win these matchups. Even if you're going up against a Marshawn Lattimore, even if you're going up against a Derek Stingley, even if you're going up against a Pat Surtain, even if you're going up against these top tier corners, when we get those one-on-one matchups, you have to be able to win those matchups more times than not. And he does a good job at that right here. All right, so right here, once again, man, we got another one-on-one matchup. So if you look at it, obviously you could tell that the Commanders are in a man-to-man defense. So when you look, you see that they're in a single high. So you have the field closed, meaning that you have a single high safety. And the vulnerabilities of a single high is always going to be the exterior, the sidelines. You know, the corner routes, a post corner. If you got enough time to run a double move, anything that's breaking towards the sideline, it's going to be kind of hard for the corner to be able to, not the corner, but the safety that's over the top to be able to make a play on the ball, especially if it's a good pass. So right here you get Malik Nabers matched up one-on-one in the slot. They at the top of the screen, the outside receiver kind of just simply runs a stop route. And in my opinion, what he does that for is because obviously if you're going up against corners that's aware of what's going on every play, as soon as that ball leaves the quarterback hands, he's abandoning his original assignment and he's going in pursuit to be able to make a play on that football. So running that stop route occupies that, because now once he run that stop route by being man to man, he has to take that as a threat, right? So once he has to take it as a threat, he drives down. So now you create a more cleaner picture for the one-on-one matchup with Malik Nabers. And right here, Russell Wilson was under pressure. You see they had a free runner at him. And I always talk about, if you watch my videos, you always hear me talk about, I like to see, or I want to see a receiver, especially for me to give you that elite title, or for me to even give you the #1 title. I want to see, can you come up with those one-on-one plays, obviously. And one of the things I look at too is the ability to make difficult catches, right? Because when you get in the NFL, the talent gap closes when you from high school to college to the league. When you get to the league, more times than not, it's not going to be a lot of separation on those plays, on your routes a lot of times. So you have to become acquainted with being able to make tough catches in traffic. And then sometimes you got to think about the pass rush. If you're going up against a team who has a dominant pass rush and the quarterback has to kind of get the ball out of his hands much quicker than what he would like to, more times than not, it's going to come a point where you're going to have to be able to adjust and make a tough catch. And right here, I wouldn't necessarily say that it was a tough catch, but he just did a good job at being able to, for one, get his head around, 2, being able to play the ball in the air, and 3, being aggressive and going up and making a tough catch in traffic. So to me right here, this play right here is an embodiment of what makes Malik Nabers so good. So one of the things that you hear me talk about, and I stated this early on in the video, it might have been in the second clip, when it comes to being a route runner, an effective route runner, you want to be deceptive. You want to have deceptive in your route running. You want to make your opponent think that you're doing one thing and doing the complete opposite. So remember the second clip when he ran a slant on Marshawn Lattimore, how he strongly attacked Marshawn Lattimore's outside shoulder and then bounced that thing back in. That's what I mean in terms of being able to deceive the defense. Now, another thing, for one, is being able to stop on a dime and being able to get out of your breaks, being able to get your head back around and get your eyes to the quarterback to be able to make a play on the ball. So right here, he does a good job at that. The corner kind of played this well at the beginning. You're looking at him when you watch him, he was in phase, meaning that he was in position to be able to make a play. But when you got a guy who can stop on a dime like Malik Nabers and also be able to get out of his break. Now, you have to look at this too. As he was getting out of his break, he still did a good job at getting out of his break, and he was being held. If you look at it at the top of the route, the corner grabs a hold to his inside shoulder, his inside jersey, and he still was able to be able to get back around to the ball and make a play. So this is also a teaching moment for any of my younger receivers out there. So if you want to get those holding calls, when a defender is holding you, you don't stop in the middle of the play just because you're being held, and you don't stop fighting for the ball. No, you fight through that contact. You make that receiver, you make that referee see that, hey, man, you pulling his jersey. That's affecting what he's doing. And that's what he does. He just does a good job at fighting through the hole, being able to get his eyes back to the quarterback. And not only that, being able to go up and make a tough catch in a tight phone booth situation. That's another thing I said too. When you get to the National Football League, you have to become acquainted with making those tight contested catches, because more times than not, you're not going to have a lot of separation on your routes, because the corners become so much better, not just only with just their technique, but they become so much better in terms of their recovery speed. Whenever you're able to beat them initially, they do a good job at being able to recover and get back in position to make a play on the ball. So you have to become acquainted to being able to make those tough catches, just like how he does right here. Makes what I call a hands catch. Just goes up, gets that thing, shows the strong hands with making a catch, but then also shows body control with being held and still being able to turn back around and still being able to go up and secure the catch for a first down, man. So that's one of the things I like about Malik Nabers. There's a lot to like about him. I mean, you see that in this clip alone that more times than not, whenever they got those one-on-one matchups and they called on his name, he was able to make a play. So that's one of the things that makes this guy so elite. And like I said, man, just his ability to make those tough catches, his route running. I would say that he's a nightmare for defensive coordinators going into Sundays to try to have the game plan and figure out ways to be able to take away from his level of effectiveness, because you got guys that's this good, especially with a team that does a good job at moving him around the formations. We seen him lined up on the left side. We seen him lined up on the right side. We seen him lined up on the field. We seen him lined up on the boundary. We seen him lined up in a slot. So when you have a guy that lines up in so many different positions, it becomes so much harder to be able to focus on them defensively, because you have to first identify exactly where they're at and then try to game plan around it. So, it kind of keeps it to where you can't really focus in on them. But even when they do, man, when you got a guy like him, he can go up and make those tough plays, especially those gotta have it plays whenever you need it. But, man, if you guys did enjoy this video, do me a big favor, man. Smash that thumbs up button. Also, if you're new to the channel, man, make sure you subscribe. And when you subscribe, make sure that you go and have that post notification bell turned on. That way you be notified every time I upload. And I'll see y'all in the next video.